Right, this is one of the most important concepts, which is why I'm making a video for it. You need to know which is more efficient, perfect competition or monopoly, because that basically decides which one's better. So if a question ever asks you in the exam, which would you rather have, perfect competition or monopoly, you first of all say, well, it depends on which one's more efficient. And you have to know these four sorts of efficiency. So the first one is allocatively efficient. Now pause the video and see whether you actually know this before I tell you. Okay, so allocatively efficient is when price equals marginal cost. Okay, so this is where they say total economic welfare should be maximised in this case. But the basic idea is it's not fair for one person to win. So if the marginal cost was £20, so if it cost a firm £20 to make something, but their price was £100, that firm has won there because their price is much higher than it actually costs them to make. So that's unfair on the consumer. And if it was the other way around, then obviously it'd be unfair on the producer. But for it to be allocatively efficient, the price has to equal the cost it made to make the product. So the price has to equal marginal cost. Right, the second one, productive efficiency. To be productively efficient, you have to be producing at the lowest point on your AC curve. Okay, so we know the lowest point in the AC curve is there's always a line that goes through it, which is the MC line. So where the AC equals the MC, they're going to be productively efficient. Right, the next one, X inefficient. This basically, all this means is when a firm is X inefficient, they're not producing on their AC line, they're producing above their AC line. Now they might be doing this because they might be having too many workers, so they could have too many. Or they could have too many machines that they're not using. They could also be paying those workers too much. Okay? And then finally, dynamic efficiency. This efficiency is just down to, does a firm want to keep on innovating? Have they got any incentive to innovate in the future? So those four sort of efficiencies are the best way to decide which is better, perfect competition or monopoly. Okay, so I'm going to make that smaller and put it in the corner so we can use that later if we need to. Right, we're going to start off with perfect competition in the long run because I think it's just easier in this case just to draw the long run diagram. So I'll draw that diagram now. Remember, it's got to be costs and revenue up here. And down the bottom it is, so I've got a rubbish pen today so I can't write, and output's down the bottom. Okay, so I've got this line which is straight because they're price takers. So that's the, what am I trying to draw there? That is the, marginal revenue equals average revenue, which equals the price because they're price takers. Okay, so then I'm going to draw my, now this might not go that well because this pen's not that great. That's just about right. So that's the AC curve. And then obviously my MC curve has to go through here. Right. The reason why that diagram's the way it is in the long run is because we know in the long run, in perfect competition, firms will only be able to make normal profit. Okay, so let's go through all the types of efficiency and decide whether they are actually what they are in this case. So we'll look at allocatively efficient. Are they allocatively efficient in this case? For them to be the price, which is this line, I'll get my arrows out. The price here has to equal the marginal cost. So as you can see, the price equals the marginal cost. Now, to actually do this right, you've got to think, where is this firm going to be producing? The firm's always going to be producing where MR equals MC. This is because they're trying to profit maximise. Right? Now, I remember M&M's for this. That's the easiest way I remember it is M&M's is profit maximisation. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Okay, so anyway, this is where they're producing. They're producing where the MR line, this one, equals the marginal cost line, this one. So that's where they're producing there, right? And at that point, are they allocatively efficient? They are, because the price, which is this point as well, also equals the MC. So they are allocatively efficient in the long run. Now, sometimes people will say, are they allocatively efficient in the short run as well? And they are. So I'm just going to draw a diagram. What am I writing price level? Sorry. I've been making other videos for year 12 today. So instead it's costs and revenue and output down the bottom. Okay, so this time I'm going to be showing this firm in the short run. So I've got MR equals AR equals price. Okay, so I've decided to make this diagram where they're making a profit in the short run. So I've got the MC up here, and their costs would have to be below. It's not the best diagram ever, but let's go for that. Okay, so as you can see, their revenue is above their costs, so they're going to be making a short run profit. they'll be making abnormal profit, sorry, in the short run. Okay, so where does this firm always produce? They produce where MR equals MC, so they're going to be producing there. And let's dot down there. That'll be the cost they'll have. And this will be their abnormal profit. Now, are they still producing where price equals MC? So are they allocatively efficient? Well, they are, because look, this is the price here, over here, and this is the MC, and they join right here. So that's the same point as they were producing at, which means in both the short run and the long run, perfect competition, get a little green tick out for you here. Perfect competition is both allocatively efficient, perfect competition is both allocatively efficient in the short run and the long run. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll get rid of that diagram. Put that over here with the other ones. Right, so now we've got to decide whether perfect competition is productively efficient. Now I'm going to bring back these diagrams because it will help me. So that's the long run one. This is in the long run. Now, are they productively efficient? Is the AC line at the bottom, are they producing where the AC line equals the MC line, so here? Well, they are, as you can see. So it's very obvious, in the long run, they are productively efficient. So let's get rid of this one, come back with the other one. Right, in this one, are they productively efficient? Well, look, they're producing at this point, and this is what their cost point is at this point. I'll just get another colour over here. But look, they could have had lower costs. They could have had a cost down at this point. Their cost could have been that much lower. So they are not productively efficient in the short run if they're making a abnormal profit. So the basic point is, right, in productively efficient, in perfect competition, they're going to be productively efficient in the long run, but they may not be productively efficient in the short run. Now, they could be productively efficient in the short run because they could have just been making normal profit in the short run. But had they been making a profit in the short run, then they wouldn't have been productively efficient. Does that make sense? So for productively efficient, you can say they are in the long run, but they might not be in the short run. Okay. So now let's go through the next two. Are they X efficient? Right. So let's go for that long run diagram. I'm going to bring that one back. Now, to be X efficient, you have to be producing on your AC line. Now, if a firm in perfect competition was to be producing up here, so that's where their costs were, because they haven't actually managed to make themselves down to the AC line. Because for some reason, like for example, everyone in the whole of the market have all got one worker and they're all paying them a £5, and that allows them to make normal profit. Well, one company might be out there and they've got 3 workers and they're paying them all 15 quid. So their costs are above the average cost line that they could have had. Now, is that firm going to be able to stay in the market? Well, if you look at this, their costs would be up here and their revenue would be down by here, which means that firm would be making a loss, so they'd drop out the market. So what can you say about perfect competition? Are they X efficient? Right? They have to be X efficient, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be able to cope, because they have to take the price of the market and they have to make sure their costs are low enough to be able to handle that. Does that make sense? Okay, the last one, dynamically efficient. Right? If you're in perfect competition, have you got any incentive to invent new stuff or new ways of doing stuff and to innovate? Well, you haven't, because as soon as you come up with a new idea, everyone else will know about that idea. Because remember, there is perfect information. I don't know why I'm writing it, but I'm going to. There's perfect info about everyone's technological advances. So if one firm comes up with a new idea, straight away every firm knows about it. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking that doesn't make any sense, but remember, perfect competition is just an economic theory. You won't actually find perfect competition anywhere. You'll just find markets that are closer to that than other markets. So what can we conclude? We conclude that perfect competition is allocatively efficient in both the long run and short run. It's productively efficient in the long run. It's X efficient, because if they're not, then the firm would go bust. And finally, the downside is it's not dynamically efficient. So in 3 ways, it's very efficient and very good, but you get to say, but it's not dynamically efficient. And I suppose your second but is it might not be in the short run. And they love you talking about short run versus long run. That's how you get really good marks. Right, I'm now going to talk about it to do with monopoly, and I know people find this slightly harder, okay? So, I'm just going to draw the diagram. So I've got my monopoly diagram, and now remember, the monopoly diagram is the same both in the short run and the long run. This is because of barriers to entry. I'm going to go for costs / revenue, and I can't read that. And then output. Right, so the difference on this diagram is you've got your AR line like that, which can also be called the price line. And also we've got the MC line like that. Now I do my, which one should I do first? I'm going to do the curvy one first. So I'm going to do my AC line there. And then I'm going to do my, fingers crossed I'll get it in the right place. There we are. So it's not the greatest diagram ever, but it will do. Right, so I'm going to say where all the firm is first of all, because it'll be easier. So where does the firm always produce? They always produce M&Ms. Remember M&Ms? They produce where the MR, that's meant to say MR, where the MR equals MC. Okay, so I'll get a different pen, and I'll dot from that point. So you dot across, this is their costs. What do jokers do? They dot across early on, we won't do that. And then you dot up to your revenue, and this is their supernormal profit that they're making. Okay, so let's go back to whether they're efficient or not. So first of all, are they, I'll get this in a colour down the side one sec. Are they allocatively efficient? Now remember, to be allocatively efficient, your price has to equal the marginal cost. Right, look, so this is where they produce. They produce where MI equals MC. Now at this point, the MC is down here. Now you don't have to dot these in the exam, you just have to be able to say it. The MC is down here, whereas the price is up here. So there's a massive difference between the price and the marginal cost. The price is much higher than the marginal cost, which means a monopoly is not allocatively efficient. And remember, this diagram shows both the long run and the short run, so you can just say a monopoly isn't allocatively efficient. Okay. The second one, is a monopoly productively efficient? Okay, so to be productively efficient, you have to be producing at the lowest point where your AC is at the bottom. Now, my diagram is dreadful, so I'm just going to draw that again just very quickly. Just one part of it, so it will make it easier. I won't bother labeling everything. I will label that there. Now, if you make your diagram just a bit more of a drop like that, it will be easier. I'll get my MC through there. Okay, so they're producing where MR equals MC. Oh, what? I kept on doing it. That's MR. Okay, let's do this quickly. Don't get bored of me. Right, here we go. So, are they productively efficient? So far we've said they're not allocatively efficient. We put a cross there. But are they productively efficient? Now look, they are producing, this is their cost point here. I'll get my little arrow out. This is their cost point. Now they could, if they were being productively efficient, produce where at this bottom of it, but are they anywhere near that bottom bit? No, they're not. And the main reason why they're not productively efficient is they're still able to make a profit. So they're probably thinking, oh, don't worry about it. Okay? So we've got those two first. The next one is, are they X efficient? Now to be X efficient, you have to be producing on your AC line. Now look at this monopoly. Now this is one where you can say it depends on. But some monopolies could be producing, I'll get this in a new pen, could have their costs here. And even if their costs were here, they'd still be making this much supernormal profit. So actually monopolies a lot of the time are X inefficient because they've got no incentive, well, they've got some incentive, but they've got less incentive to keep their costs down, because what they're still doing, they're still making abnormal profit or supernormal profit. So I would say monopolies can be X inefficient. Does that make sense? Okay, finally, are they dynamically efficient? Now you can say with monopolies, sometimes they are dynamically efficient because they have got an incentive to keep on innovating, because they know if they innovate, because of barriers to entry, no one's going to be able to copy it or take advantage of that, so therefore they will be able to make money off it. So, what can we say about monopoly? We can say it's bad in two ways. It's bad in three ways, sorry. It's bad in these first three ways. However, it could be considered to be dynamically efficient. So on one way, you could say, actually, it's good. Does that make sense? And that's all you've got to do in the exam is compare the two, draw some diagrams, and you'll get a good grade.